Welcome everybody to our first video regarding the halachot of Seudat Shabbat, the meals of Shabbat. We'll learn some of the halachot related to meals and some halachot related to lechem mishnah, the requirement to have bread at both meals. Here we go. So what we're going to do in this introductory video, as we've done in other ones as well, is go through the sources for the certain halachot, the certain mitzvot, and we'll see if we can learn anything from these sources. So let's look at source number 1. This is the first source for the requirement to have meals on Shabbat. So we can ask ourselves, why is there from what is the source to have a requirement to have meals on Shabbat? So one of them is something that we discussed already, and that is mitzvah oneg Shabbat. The Gemara in Psachim discusses whether certain Yamim Tovim and with Shabbat as well, whether they have a requirement of something called lachem. Lachem literally means for you, right? Lachem, the word right there, lachem. Lachem means for you. And the lachem is a requirement to enjoy the holiday, right? It's a requirement to enjoy / to eat. I was about to write meat, I meant to write eat. Okay, is there a requirement to enjoy the holiday / eat? From the word lachem, it should be for you. So Rabbah tells us in Psachim, Amar Rabbah hakom odim b'Shabbat ba'ina nami lachem, that everybody agrees that on Shabbos you need lachem as well, right? It's not just for Hashem, but it's for you. So why is this? My tama, what's the reason? Because it says you should call Shabbat oneg. V'karata l'Shabbat oneg. The word oneg is included in Shabbat. Oneg means physical enjoyment. So clearly what we're being told there by the Navi Yeshayahu is that you are required to physically enjoy Shabbat. That's possible source number 1 for why we have to have a meal on Shabbat. Source number 2 is based on a drasha, and everyone at this point should know what a drasha is. It's taking the words of the psukim and trying to explain them to teach us something new. So in discussing the man that fell on Shabbat, so many of us know that the man fell, a double portion of man, which is the food that Bnei Yisrael ate in the desert, fell on Erev Shabbat, so that Bnei Yisrael would have food for both Shabbat evening, for Friday night, and for the next day, because Hashem's commandment was that part of Shabbos was not to go out and to collect man. In those psukim, Moshe tells the Bnei Yisrael, Vayomer Moshe, and now you can see the words are circled, Ichlu hayom, eat the man today, Ki Shabbat hayom l'Hashem, because Shabbos today is for Hashem, Hayom, today, lom timtza'u b'asadeh, you won't find it in the field. Has the word today 3 times, hayom, 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 in discussing the man. The Gemara in Masechet, I don't remember, Masechet Shabbat. The Gemara in Masechet Shabbat tells us the following: has a machloket, how many meals should you eat on Shabbos? So the Gemara has 2 opinions: Rav Chidka and the Tana Kama. Tana Kama says chayav l'chol b'Shabbat. Shalosh says the Tana Kama. Rabbi Chidka omer. Rabbi Chidka says arba. You have to actually have 4 meals on Shabbat. Rabbi Yochanan says u'shnehem mikra echad darshu. They are both explaining the same pasuk. There's the word darshu, drasha, and they each give a different drasha on this pasuk. Okay, what are the 2 drashot that are given on this pasuk? Well, it depends. The pasuk says hayom 3 times, so the Gemara says Shabbat. Right, there's the pasuk. And then it says Rab Chidka savar hani tlata. These 3 hayoms levar is except. Is in addition to or not including the orta, the night. So you have the night meal, which is assumed, and the 3 hayoms being 3 meals on Shabbos day. That equals 4 meals. Rabbanan savri bahade orta. It includes the night. So when it says hayom 3 times, everyone agrees that the 3 todays mean 3 times equals 3 meals. It's just a machloket whether those 3 meals include the Friday night meal, therefore you have 3 total, or it's in addition to the Friday night meal, then you'd have 4. We obviously hold that there's 3, but here is the second source. The second source is a drasha from the word hayom. So what we need to ask ourselves is the following question. We had this last year or this year, depending who's watching this video, right? We had this in Masechet Bava Kama. We have the question, Lamai, Nafka, Mina. What's the difference? Okay, either way, I have to have 3 meals on Shabbat, whether it's because it says hayom 3 times, or because there's mitzvah of oneg Shabbat, which requires us to have a meal. And I guess the extra oneg, the extra enjoyment would be having an extra meal on Shabbat day. So, l'may nafkina, who cares? Either way, okay, what's, right? The way we translate, right, casually here, what's the difference? The literal translation is what comes out is. What's the difference whether the reason I have to have a meal is because of Oneg Shabbos, or whether it's because of, it says Hayom 3 times, the drasha. So we are going to look at three nafkaminas. A nafkamina is used, right, colloquially, the way people talk, as a noun. Whoops. A nafkamina is a way of saying a situation or halacha or halachic, scenario where it would make a difference which halacha you, depending on which reason you follow, the halacha would change. So if you believe that the reason for having 3 meals on Shabbos is because of oneg, you have to enjoy yourself extra. So therefore, that might lead to one conclusion. And if you think it's because of this drush ayom, might lead to another conclusion. The first nafkamin is what if the eating is not enjoyable at the moment? Right now, it's going to make me nauseous. It's going to make me, I'm not so hungry. I'm stuffed, right? So the Shulchan Aruch quotes the following: Yeshomrim, there are some say sha'adam shemazik lo achil. If someone's going to be painful for them to eat, oops, there goes the bell. Ta'az oneg hu shelo lachol. For that person, the oneg is not to eat. That's the pleasure. Okay? Then lo yachal, they shouldn't eat. Now some say, that implies that some say that you do. Now who would say that? So if you believe, the some say here would be the opinion that meals are from the mitzvah of oneg. So if you're only supposed to eat your third meal or any meal if there is oneg, there actually is enjoyment. So therefore that would make sense according to that opinion. However, according to the opinion that it's based on a drasha, okay, according to the other opinion that it's not because of oneg, that it's based on a drasha, the other opinion would say you have to eat it anyway. Now, obviously not if it's going to make you sick, or right, if it's going to make you throw up. Anything anyway. Okay, who would say you have to eat it anyway, whether it's going to make you, whether you're hungry or not? That would be the opinion that bases on a drasha, because the drasha itself doesn't say anything about is it about enjoyment? No, it says there are 3 meals. Hayom, you have to eat 3 meals no matter what. So that would be one nafkamina. Again, if you believe that the reason is oneg Shabbat, then you wouldn't eat a meal if the eating for you is not comfortable at the time. But if you go based on the word hayom, then you eat it no matter what. If you have to eat 3 meals, there's no real reason behind it, so to speak. Nafkamina number 2 is going to be, what do I have to eat at Seudat Shabbat, my third meal? Must my third meal be a meal that includes bread? Or can I eat other things for my third meal? Well, it depends. According to the opinion, this is the opinion of the Uraim. These are 2 Rishonim who have this debate. According to the Uraim, who is a Rishon, he tells us the following: Lo nafi yedei chavita b'Seudat Shabbat ki im benahama. You don't fulfill the mitzvah of Seudat Shabbat unless you use bread. V'tam, and the reason is because that pasuk which teaches us you need 3 meals, where it says hayom 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 alechem kai, is talking about bread. Man is referred to as lechem, right? The man is described as the bread that God has given you to eat, and that's for all 3 meals. So according to this opinion, okay, you need bread for all 3 meals. All 3 meals require bread, because the pasuk says hayom 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 3 times, and each pasuk is talking about lechem. However, the opinion of the Rashba is that the reason why you need bread is because it says oneg, and ein oneg b'lo achila pat. Real oneg is only with bread. However, Seudat Shalishit is not supposed to be your regular oneg. Seudat Shalishit just means extra enjoyment besides the regular meals, right? It's your 2 regular meals because they're supposed to be enjoyed, because you're supposed to have oneg. You make sure to have bread at those meals. The third meal, what might not require bread, maybe requires anything enjoyable. There's no real pasuk which says lechem, which requires bread, and therefore it's a little bit more flexible in terms of what will be required at Seudat Shalishit. So that's nafkamina number 2. And we see this play out not only in regards to what you're supposed to eat, but in a halacha regarding benching. The halacha is that on a day where you are required to eat, like Yom Tov, if you forget to say Ya'alev Yavo, you have to repeat benching. But on a day like Rosh Chodesh, where bread does not need to be eaten, and therefore there's no real requirement to bench, if you miss Ya'alev Yavo on Rosh Chodesh, for example, you do not have to repeat benching. So the Shulchan Aruch discusses the following: what if I forget Ritzei? Right? If I forget Ritzei on Friday night in benching or Shabbos day, then I got to repeat again. What if I forget Ritzei and Shalashidus and Seudat Shalishi? Shulchan Aruch said Birkat Hamazon for Seudat Shalishi is treated like Rosh Chodesh. Mr. Brura tells us, meaning you don't have to go back if you miss Ritzei, because some say that Seudat Shalishi doesn't require bread. Okay, there's your opinion right there. And even though that opinion is not the essential one, meaning even though that's not really the opinion that we really follow the opinion that hayom, you do need to have bread at Seudat Shalishit, it's best to avoid a bracha levatala. So you see right here another that nafkamina playing out. Some say Seudat Shabbat doesn't require bread. That's the opinion that the Shabbos meals are based on oneg. So enjoyment. So the third meal doesn't necessarily require the same enjoyment as the first two. You already ate your two full meals with bread. So have something else that enjoy. Have some fruit, have some candy, have some cake, whatever it is. That would be fine. That's not the opinion. That's not the essential opinion. We really say you should have lechem, you should have bread for shalosh shudas. But because there's another opinion that says you don't need bread, so we tell you don't go back and bench again and say if you miss ritzei, because it might be a bracha levatala. Finally, the question of covering the challah also might depend on whether you believe the reason we have challah is because of oneg, because of bread, or because of, it says hayom 3 times, but regarding the man. So let's start with the man. Let's assume you believe that the reason why we have lechem, we have challah at all 3 meals is because the man is called lechem, is called bread, and therefore you should, and the man, and the source for 3 meals is bread, and therefore you should have bread at all 3 meals. So what we know about the man is that the man lay on top of a layer of dew and was covered by another layer of dew. That would be the reason that you cover the challah. So if the reason you're covering the challah has to do with the mitzvah of lechem of the bread itself, because the bread represents the man, then you should keep the challah covered during the bracha as well. Because while you're making the bracha on the mitzvah of challah, you should be doing the mitzvah of challah, which is the way it was intended, which is as a reminder of the man, which had dew on top and a layer of dew on the bottom. And that's also why I use a cutting board. A lot of people have a board underneath it, or at least have a tablecloth, because there was dew on the bottom as well. However, if you believe that the purpose of having challah is because of oneg, and there's no oneg without bread, well, challah has nothing to do with the man. So why are you covering the challah? Challah is just about, hey, bread is good. So you're covering the challah only during Kiddush. Why? Because the bracha is being made out of order. The famous thing, right, about the challah being embarrassed, right? What it really means doesn't really mean a challah is embarrassed. What it really means is that normally, in terms of the order of brachot, you say the bracha of hamotzi before you say hagafen. But when it comes to Kiddush, Kiddush is supposed to start the meal, so we say hagafen first and hamotzi. So in order not to make it like we're saying the brachot out of order, we cover the challah as if like the challah is not there. So if you don't believe that, if you're not covering the challah because of the man, the only reason to cover the challah is because the bracha is being made out of order. Once Kiddush is done, you say B'rei Pargafen, you can uncover the challah because then the bracha has been made and it's all over. But then another nafkamina would also be you'd have to cover all cake as well. So that's the third nafkamina between these 2 reasons. Let's just chart this out. So here are the 2 opinions of why you might have to have why we will have to have meals and bread at our meals. Possibility number 1 is because of oneg, because you're supposed to enjoy, and true enjoyment comes with the bread, a full meal. And the second is possibility because it says hayom 3 times when it comes to the man. It's a drasha. So here are 3 nafkaminas. I'm sorry, I didn't put them in order as they were in the video. There are 3 nafkaminas, 3 situations where the halacha would play out differently if you take this reason as opposed to take that reason. The first one we'll discuss at least has to do with Seudat Shlishit. What happens? I'm sorry. What am I supposed to eat at Seudat Shlishit? So if it's because it says hayom 3 times, you have to have bread at this meal as well, right? It says hayom 3 times when it comes to man. Man is called lechem, so all 3 times you need bread. If it's based on oneg, you could really have any food, because again, oneg is a requirement that hey, if you're going to have a meal, you should have a real serious meal. But shalosh shudas, the Seudat Shabbat is extra eating. It doesn't require. It's not a full real meal that requires bread again. It's really just a requirement to have some more enjoyment, which therefore any food would be fine. As we pointed out, according to that opinion, if you miss ritzei and benchi, you would not have to go back. Which is why we say not to go back if you miss ritzei and Seudat Shlishit, because you don't really have to have bread, and therefore it's not worth the risk of making a bracha levatela, even though you should have bread. The second nafkamina is what if you're not hungry? According to oneg, then you don't eat, because the whole point of eating meals is that it's supposed to be enjoyable. But if it's not enjoyable, then you wouldn't eat. Based on the word hayom, you should eat. Again, of course, it's not if it's making you sick, but you still have to eat because it says 3. 3 meals is 3 meals, no matter whether you're hungry or not. Third, what about covering the challah? Based on the mitzvah of oneg, only during. Let's go. Let's do the other one first, right? Based on the hayom, that the reason you have. The reason we have bread is because of hayom when it comes to the man. So you'd have to have it during hamotzi. It should be covered. It should be covered during the bracha of hamotzi, because bracha of hamotzi is the bracha on the mitzvah of lechem mishnah, And the bracha of lechem mishnah, the mitzvah of lechem mishnah of having challah is based directly from the man, from the word hayom, and the man had a covering on it, both on the top and the bottom. However, if you believe that it's based on oneg, you only have to cover during Kiddush. Because you're not covering your covering has nothing to do with the man and has nothing to do with the challah itself. It has to do with the fact that you're making the brachas out of order. But once the bracha of Kiddush is made, so the brachas are no longer out of order. So then you could just uncover it and say hamotzi with the bracha, with the challah uncovered. Next video we'll go into more specific halachot, as opposed to the bigger ideas behind the meals of Shabbat and the mitzvah of lechem mishnah. Until then, see ya.